Hello, and welcome to another episode of North Country Ham. Before we get started, I'd like to please say, help me out, hit that subscribe button, like any of the videos I do, and leave me any comments or suggestions. I would greatly appreciate it. It definitely helps to improve the content, and I'm constantly working on trying to come up with more and interesting things to go through. So it'll definitely help me out. Thank you. Today's episode, I want to briefly go over some of the most common and popular programming software to use with ham radio. There's a lot of them out there. You've got to seek them out, give them all a try, find what works best for you. So with that, stay tuned. Okay, there's a lot of software out there you can use with ham radio. Some of your most common stuff is definitely some logging software, programming for radios, and of course all your digital mode operations you can do, where you can use your radio to send digital information across and retrieve it also back. So there's a lot out there. It definitely keeps ham radio interesting and fun. So with that, let me take you to the computer and show you through briefly what I've got. Okay, I'm going to try to go through this relatively quickly, just give a quick overview of what the programs are that I have and use, and give you some good ideas that way. I've created a folder on my desktop that I've labeled ham radio, that's just a quick shortcut for us to be able to get to and open up these programs and use them relatively easily. You can set it up however you want that works best for you on your system. The first one I wanted to go over is a small little program, pretty simple to use, called Hamclot, and this is the icon for it. I've found this and downloaded it off from the internet, and this is what it looks like. I've got it positioned on my screen here, as you can see. When you first set it up, it has a title bar on it that you can leave on or remove to be able to move it around and position it wherever works for you. You can change the appearance of it, of course, change, how the frame of it looks as far as just plain, a couple of options here. I've got it set to lowered so it looks like it's indented into the screen. I think that's pretty neat. And then of course on here, as you can see on the color, you can change the background and the text color. I leave it as a black background with red text. I just find it's easier to see and use, especially in low light conditions in the evening time, like when I'm in playing radio. I'll have the lights off in the room, just keeping it comfortable and relaxing. So that's up to you. Alright, the next, obviously, as you'll learn, or as your time in ham radio, FCC requires logging. Well, there's a lot of log programs out there to use. And this day and age, you can use and create your own radio log like I did here in Excel, but with all the technology out there, why not use programs that'll electronically log it for you and create downloadable files that you can import and export easily. So, I've got a lot of them on here. You can see I've got some here from N3FJP. I've got some other here that's log 40M, logger 32, mlog shortcut. There's N1MM logger plus, Netlogger, which is mainly for logging of nets, your actual rag chews or get-togethers on the radio that somebody is a net control. That's one that they would use. And of course, you got logger 32 here. And then you have some digital, like some digital use programs as well. So I'll show you a couple of these that I use, and just a brief thing. So as far as the logs go, the one that I most commonly use is this one here, log 40M. Now, it shows offline, but it does connect to my radio, and it will control the radio as well, or if you change on the radio, it'll show on this display here. Relatively simple. You type in the call sign. It does like a QRZ search populates some information and the bands, and you can change your signal reports and enter and log it that way. Shows some map views and gray line view, satellite of the world, and kind of pick and choose what works for you. I like this program. It does have a good ADIF file use, I feel, for doing. So here's like a list of a bunch of FT8 stuff that I've been doing recently. So, this is Log4OM. Very popular. I like it. This is the one that I usually use for my logging. And, then we've got some other options here. Logger 32 looks like this. You can see a lot of the same information gets punched in. It just depends on what works for you. So check them all out. See which ones you like better. All these windows are customizable as far as the size of the boxes and views and where you can arrange them. Whatever works for you. So then a real simple one that we've got is XML Log. This one is probably meant to be more of a very mobile, portable type logging system where it's just a quick punch in all the data, save it, and then import export when you get back. Another real popular one that I do use at times is this one right here. This is N1MM Plus. It's not cooperating with my radio right now because I've got other stuff hooked up into it. In this top corner here, if I can get it to work, usually we'll have the spectrum display that is not wanting to cooperate with me. I usually have it up here, right here. Oop. In this window here, filling in this spot is what I've usually got. So when I'm viewing, this is what it looks like, but now it's not cooperating. So, but this is N1MM Plus. You punch in your call sign, it does a check search and see if you've contacted before. It's got your gray line. Real popular one, is nice to use. I use it at times, and you can set it up where this window here is for VFO A, and you can have VFO B also on here. So, it'll have two separate windows. All depends on what works for you. Yeah, I'll close that out just to alleviate some of the confusion. And from there, this is Netlogger. This is the one that you can use for logging all your nets and keeping track. You can find nets that are out there and help you tune into them and listen in and see if it's something you want to check into. You can click on it, hit monitor net, and it'll populate. It'll show you on here who's the net control, assistant net control, who's doing the logging. And you can also view monitors, as kind of shows you who's viewing the net, monitoring it, but not checked in yet. So it's a good access, and it's got an instant message window here, AMI window. They call it almost instant messenger. It is very slow. There is some time delay there. Sometimes when you hit a message, it could take up to a couple minutes before it pops up. But everybody in the net that has that open can see it and read the message. Okay, let me close this one. And another of the logging is this one right here, Windlog 32. I'm sorry. Another customizable window. You can set it up how you want. You'll see all of them. I've at least got some of my information punched in, looking at it, tinkering around, seeing what I can set up, see which ones I like the best. So far, of all of them, I like the N1MM Plus and the Log4OM. I like those ones the best. So those are the ones that I use the most commonly. Alright, from here I want to show you a couple other programs that I use and have access to, one of which for programming. Now every radio you've got, some of them will have a CD or a website to go to download the programming for that radio. One that is pretty common out there that a lot of people have and use is Chirp. And this is a window of it open here showing you this is my file that I use for the tri-band radio handheld that I've got, the BTEC UV5X3. And this is my channel breakdown and how I've got it set up. And this is for my TYT dual band mobile rig that I had as a base station temporarily, the TH7800. I like both these radios, and this is what I've used to program both of them. And from there, I've actually started using TYT's program that I downloaded and made it work. But, from here you can upload, download from the radio, and make changes to it, save it, and reprogram your radio relatively simple. And it's free open source programming. All of this stuff that I've got that I use has cost nothing. It's all free to use. Another that we have got out there that is, before I get into all the digital stuff, you've got this one here that I've used for field days. This is by N3FJP. They've got a regular radio log, and they've got this one that I downloaded and have all the information from our radio club. We use this for field days. It's got all of your, we all connect together using a ham mesh network, which I could show you that kind of setup at a later time in a different video with how the ham mesh works. I've got a couple of old routers that I reflashed and imaged and made them where they are a ham mesh net. And we all connect all of our computers together over this net and log on field day, and you see what everybody's doing, what band, who's on what bands, so that way we don't get crosstalk going on. And we can keep track of everything that's going on for field day. As I said, this N3FJP does have a regular amateur logging software as well that looks the same, works a lot the same, but I haven't paid for it. And I don't have the free trial anymore, so I can't show that to you. But this is another software for logging that we use quite successfully for field days. Alright, from there, let's get into some of this, the more fun stuff that's gets interesting into radio. One thing that I have found, and I've got on the computer here, I don't use it much on the computer, but I do have the app on my phone, and this is Echolink. Now, some of your repeaters out there are set up for Echolink, where you can log in remotely through a device into the repeater and actually transmit and listen to what's going on the repeater through that device. And you can find all your different nodes and links and repeaters. And I've saved these couple to my favorites because these are the most common. This WA2NAN repeater is up north of me in the St. Lawrence County, and this repeater is these are the two that we most commonly use for the local nets in the area. So I've been out on the road where I haven't had my radio with me, and I've logged in on my phone over Echolink, and I've listened and checked into the net that way. So this is kind of a fun program to play around with, and you can find other repeaters and locations and nets going on that way, and communicate, across the country that way. So this is a neat program to utilize. Now we can get into some of the real fun stuff. First off, one of the big programs out there, FLDigi. FLDigi stands for Fast Light Digital. And you can set this up to use with your radio as well. Controls your radio frequencies, communicates back and forth, and send and receive traffic that way. And it controls the radio for the push to talk if you so set it up. I've used this program sending pictures and messages, and I've recently used this for a Red Cross drill that was done using, amateur radio emergency service in the local area, which I am a part of, where we sent actual Red Cross forms filled out for the drill to a centralized person collecting all the message traffic, who then communicated and sent it to the Red Cross, simulating basically if there's a natural disaster in an area where there's communications are down, and the ham radio community steps up, assists, sends traffic, and keeps messages going, so you know what areas need what kind of supplies or assistance, and so on. And it was a pretty successful drill. We had good participation, and we all got to send and receive and see what everybody else was sending through this software. And this works on a lot of different modes, but that's FLDigi. And to do all your message traffic, FLDigi has several other parts of its programming that it uses. It has your FLAMP, which is some of your message traffic in message forms. Your FLWrap is a quick drag and drop file extension to be able to send stuff. FL Message is also some of your other templates and forms for that. So I don't want to get too much more into this FLDigi. Maybe at another time we should go more in depth.
And another part of it I also have is this slow scan TV. So you can see you can do a lot of digital mode, sending back and forth to other people on the same frequency you are, whether you're on a repeater or simplex. So let me get some of these windows off here. And the next fun stuff that we can get into, let me go Windlink. Alright, Windlink Express is one that I've got downloaded here. And it's got some you can do normally. If you just do it over the Telnet Windlink, you can connect a section and it'll check through for some message traffic. And essentially it's a email / snail mail server that will communicate back and forth, and you can send traffic to everybody's emails or that they've got set up through the Windlink. And if you set it up through the Pactor part of it, it'll actually connect through with some other software and send and receive through the actual radio frequency that you've got it set up to do. So, and that uses some of these programs that you've seen here on my screen. This sound modem, this is part of that I downloaded to connect all that up. And let's get into some of the real interesting stuff here. Got Grid Tracker and my WSJTX program, which is digital mode programs. If I can get it to open up here. There we go. It doesn't like some of my rig control here. There we go. It shows you kind of a mode that we're on. It shows you, well, I've got my radio on in the background, so you can see I'm on the 40 meter. And it's not communicating because I must have bumped the, there we go. Now you can see just by me clicking that, it actually changed my radio, and then my radio is now on that frequency. It's on the 40 meter band, which you can see here. Grid Tracker is communicating with it with the 40 meter band. And I'm missing a window here. It did not come up for me because it doesn't want to come. There we go, the spectrum. Okay, this window and this window, the way I've got them, are for the WSJT. This is the call roster, which is part of Grid Tracker. So Grid Tracker will take the information as you make communications and contacts and plot them on the map for you, and also submit it to all your logging software. And as you go through, it'll kind of, you can see here on 40 meters, the short time that I've had my general, which is as of basically end of August of this year, 2020. I got my generals and I started working the 40 and 20 meter bands. I've got a little over, somewhere around 100 worked on 20 meters, and I've got about, well, it shows you right here, 29 worked in the 40 meter. Of my 29 I've worked, 25 have confirmed. So thank you very much to all the users that confirmed my contact. And you can see on here it plots it on the map. Anything in red is a confirmed contact. The yellow are contacts you've made that haven't confirmed yet, and of course this orange one is me. You can see I'm way up here tucked in the northern part of New York. So this is WSJTX, and obviously the mode it's on right now is FT8, popular digital mode. It does have other modes you can work, as you can see, FT4, JT4, JT9, JT9 and JT65, MSK144, Whisper mode, all popular digital modes that you can communicate back and forth through your radio using these programs, and they all assist in logging and doing the contacts. So with that, let me minimize this, and I'll show you one of the last ones that I haven't played around with much. I don't have it open, and that is this JSA Call. This is also for the FT8 mode, but it also kind of combines a little bit of FT8 along with some messaging, and from what I understand, it's for use with low power, doing kind of a QRP kind of situation. So this is JSA Call, and I still have to do some setup on it, but you can see I've done a little bit of playing around, just the initial setup, so I've still got to set it for my rig and everything else, but we'll go from there. So that is JSA Call. That is another digital mode that you'll hear some talking about. One of the last programs I want to show you briefly, and I want to try to wrap this up. I don't want to get too long on the video without getting into stuff. And this is something I found from watching some of the other fellow YouTubers. This one of which I picked up from Mr. Callum, DX Commander. Thank you very much, Callum. I barely found this interesting, and I definitely want to get into more antenna building. And this is a program that can help you use to find your resonance and design of your radios. And that is this MMANA. And this is a quick view of one part, where you can start drawing the view of your antenna, center point, end points, where your feed point is, how you want to design it. And then here's some geometry of it. You can set a target frequency, like for here, and calculate. And it'll kind of give you where, based on what you're designing, where it should be resonant at, and where it may also be resonant at other locations in the band or on other bands. And then of course you can do your far field plot, and it'll kind of show you your RF bubble, essentially how good your RF signal is off from that antenna and where it's kind of directional at. So this is a good one to kind of, if you're thinking about getting into designing and building your own antennas, this can kind of help you, point you in a direction to tweak it, and maybe, okay, this is going to work better than maybe another idea had. So this is just to help you design for different types of antennas. So I'll again thank you, Callum, on that. From here, obviously with your N1mm logger, you can see that it does have another part of it here for a controller for a rotor. If you got a rotor for like a beam antenna or something, you can see there's a lot out there. This is just scratching the surface. I encourage you to go through, search out, find anything you can, give it all a try. See what works best for you, see what you like to use the most. And hopefully it'll help make your time playing radio as an operator more enjoyable and get you that much more involved. So, all right. With that, we'll go back and close this out.
Okay, well, hopefully that helped you out, gave you a good idea of what's out there to be able to be used. There's a lot of it. And as I said before, please try it all. Give everything a chance. See what you like best. See what works for you the best. And hopefully that'll make your ham radio experience more enjoyable. And thank you for watching, and get on the air.